men's fragrances to help you stay warm during the winter months. So now that it's pretty cold, there are a few fragrances that I think are pretty good options to cut through that cold. And as always, all the fragrances I mentioned will be available in the Amazon associate links down in the description below. Now, I'm going to start with one that I've said some unkind words about in the past, which is Versace Aros, which is an extremely popular men's scent. I've said some unkind words because it's primarily known as a clubbing fragrance, which kind of backs it into a corner. But I will say, besides clubbing, the other really nice option to wear it is during the winter, during cold weather, because it is an extremely warm, slightly sweet, pretty cozy type of scent. Primarily it has a very, very noticeable note of vanilla, Madagascar vanilla, which is very nice, has some cedar wood, some vetiver, some oak moss. Very, very nice warm notes, which again, really cut through the cold, especially the vanilla. Which I would say, I always say the vanilla in Versace Aros is probably the strongest note, at least I think so. So it's also extremely, extremely strong. Again, because it's kind of designed for parties and going to clubs, it's meant to be strong and to last for many, many hours. So if you just wear it during the day in the middle of winter, you're not going to have to worry about reapplying it. It's just going to just radiate from you, which is, again, nice. You don't have to worry about reapplying it. Really nice scent trail, nice longevity. It pretty much has all the bonuses. The only downside is that it does kind of have that clubbing reputation, but if you just ignore that and just enjoy the nice notes that it has, then you'll be fine. Then, going into a more niche option, not sweet at all, very straightforward, from Sultan, which is Amber Sultan, which is, again, no sweetness at all. Probably one of the driest scents I've ever come across, but also one of the warmest, also one of the most resinous. It pretty much has all the resins you can imagine. The amber, the myrrh. It just says resins at some point, so you don't even know what else is in it. But primarily it is a little bit smoky, has those resins, has a little bit of myrtle for a green note. This is a really, really nice option for cold weather, just because it's so purely warm. When you smell it, you can just imagine, that rumbling, crackling, burning type of smell from those resins. So it's very, very unique, first of all. When you wear this, people will definitely take notice, because most people will not be wearing Amber Sultan, because it's pretty niche. But when you do wear it, it's very, very likable. Pretty good longevity, I would say about 7 hours. Not crazy, but definitely above average. And like I said, just very warm, very cozy, kind of reminds you of incense or a crackling fire or something a little bit exotic as well, with all those resin notes. But in general, very, very warm, reliable scent. Then, if you want something a little bit on the sweeter side, then I would say Manera Instant Crush. This is a unisex option. I always say it's actually quite similar to Baccarat Rouge 540, which in itself is pretty oversaturated and a little bit too strong, at least in my opinion. This does that better. This is like the better alternative to Baccarat Rouge 540. This is much smoother, more sophisticated, pretty much just as good longevity. Very good, probably 8 hours or more on most people. This is just has a nice blend of saffron, has some sweet notes, that spicy sweet type of scent. Now in terms of uniqueness, it does smell like very similar again to Baccarat Rouge, which is not unique, at least not anymore. But I think it has a little bit of a twist that's enough to make it unique. And as I said before, longevity is crazy on this thing. The only qualm, if you're not a big fan of sweet notes, you might not be a fan of this. Now, it's definitely not as sweet as Baccarat Rouge. It's like half the sweetness of that, which I like because I'm not a big fan of sweet notes. But in general, very sophisticated, very, very versatile, warm especially. It really easily cuts through cold weather and type it in its coziness. But yeah, just make sure you enjoy sweet fragrances before you get this, because it is a little bit on the sweeter side. Then, going for one that's kind of obviously fit for the winter, which is Tom Ford Tobacco Oud. Tobacco and oud together, you can imagine it is extremely warm and intense, masculine. Oud on its own is just a very musky wood note. Then you mix it with the tobacco for an even smokier, more well-rounded type of fragrance. And just in general, it's hard to beat this type of warmth. You know, it's kind of like a smoldering, heavy type of fragrance. Definitely not for everyone. It is pretty strong and pretty intense. If you're not into that type of heft, you know, you do have to be careful about that. But really good longevity, obviously, from those super heavy notes. This is probably one of the more masculine options in terms of masculine fragrances. This is way high up there. Very little sweetness, more of a dry, smoky, musky type of fragrance, which is very nice. And just in general, more on the natural side of the notes. You can very much imagine how trees smell, how musk smells. Definitely not synthetic, just more along the natural side of notes, which makes it very pleasant, I think. Especially for cold weather, you want something that really just slides right past that cold, keeps you nice and cozy, nice and warm. At the same time, it is sophisticated, it's very attractive, it's seductive, so it has all these benefits. And it's from Tom Ford, so obviously it's an extremely high quality fragrance. Now, the last one that I have, going kind of a little bit back to the sweet side of things, just a little bit, is Manera Red Tobacco. This is a unisex option. This is a tobacco, obviously, with a little bit of sweetness from a very powerful vanilla note. I would say the vanilla is actually pretty similar in terms of strength and sweetness compared to Versace Aros, because, as I said before, the sweet yet warm vanilla note in Versace Aros very much stands out. It's one of the stronger notes. This is very, very similar in that, except it just blends that note with tobacco. And I would say that tobacco is not all that strong. It's more of a smooth, a little bit faint tobacco, but even so, it's still a very strong fragrance just overall. I would say longevity is between 7 and 8 hours, maybe even a little bit longer, but very, very reliable, very interesting, more niche type of fragrance here, and still very, very warm, mixing that tobacco with the warm, sweet vanilla, so you're kind of getting best of both worlds here. But overall, that is my list of very, very nice and enjoyable men's fragrances to stay warm with during the winter. So hopefully you found this video helpful, and if you did, of course, you can leave a like, maybe subscribe, and I make videos throughout the week, so stick around for those.